Hello, good afternoon, geeks and geekettes, and welcome to the stream. It's Sunday, it's afternoon, I've done all my chores, and I figured this would be a good time to sit down and actually look through the Frostgrave second edition hardback book. So get a cup of coffee, or a beer, or a tea, or whatever you like, and we're gonna flip through the book. So this will be the first time that I do a preview, a flip through of a book, and I have plans to do it uh, every time I get a new book. So this will be kind of a tester to see how that works. Please use the chat, drop some comments if we need to check out something specific, look up certain rules. I have all the expansion packs here, so we can go over those if anybody needs to, wants to. I've already written a review of the second edition Frostgrave rulebook. It's over on the blog. Lots and lots of words. It's written from a perspective that you don't have to have played the first edition of Frostgrave to understand the review. A lot of reviews that I've seen of the second edition is mostly about the difference between first and second. So yeah, go over, check that out if you want. I'll drop a link in the chat. There we go. So yeah, please ask away. Otherwise, I'm just going to look through this nice thick hardback right here. Osprey sent me a copy of the book before release. I wanted to do this stream, exactly this kind of stream, before the book was even released, so we could all get hyped together. But unfortunately, the postal service was really slow, and Amazon was really quick, so a lot of people had the book before release date, and I got it 2 weeks later. So the review I've written is actually from the PDF version of the rules, but that's not the same. So let's just flip through the book. This is the first time reading through it. I'm super excited. Like the physical book, of course. I couldn't write a review without reading the book. Nice table of contents. It's huge, 200 pages. I use these a lot when I play games. I can't remember the last time I had a rule book with an index. That must have been some kind of a Warhammer edition. This pretty much sums up the fluff in Frostgrave. I saw a post recently on Facebook, some guy who asked if there was any more fluff to it. There is, but this pretty much sums it up. Long ago, the great city of Felstad sat at the center of a magic empire. Its towering spires, labyrinth, catacombs, and immense libraries were the wonder of the age, and potions, scrolls, and mystical items of all descriptions poured forth from its workshops. Then one cataclysmic night a mistake was made. In some lofty tower or deep dungeon, a foolish wizard unleashed a magic too powerful to control. A storm rose up, an epic blizzard that swallowed the city whole, burying it deep and leaving the area a vast frozen wasteland. The empire was shattered and its magic faded. As the centuries came and went, Felstad passed from history to legend and into myth. Only a few wizards, clinging to the last remnants of mystical knowledge, still believed that the lost city had ever actually existed, but their faith was rewarded. After 1,000 years, the fell winter has passed, the snows are receding, and Felstad has been uncovered. Its buildings lie in icy ruin, overrun by undead creatures and animated constructs. The legacy of the Empire experiments. It is an evil, dangerous place. To the few hardy souls who inhabit the nearby villages, the city has acquired a new name, Frostgrave, and is shunned by all the right-thinking people. For those who seek power and riches, however, it is an unparalleled unparalleled opportunity, a deadly maze concealing secrets of knowledge long forgotten. So that pretty much sums it up. The game is about wizards going into a ruined city to check out if they can find some cool items, stuff, power, magical spells. Forward by Joseph McCullough, who wrote the book. Oh, this is by Sean Hensley. Yeah, he wrote another game that I haven't played, Deadlands and Savage Worlds. I think it's an RPG that you can play with minis. I haven't played that. I remember Joseph McCullough saying in a blog post that he was really excited to have this author write the foreword for his book. Nice artwork from Rumo, who's a new artist for the second edition of Frostgrave. But I think there is why a second edition. So there's a page that sums up why does Joseph McCullough wrote a second edition of Frostgrave. It's 5 years old. It has, let's see how many expansions here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 expansions has been released. Lots of mini set, and the author have learned a lot about game design. So that's pretty much sums it up. Make the game more fun, streamline the rules, balance the spells, and incorporate some of the things that's been learned over 5 years. What you need to play, classic in all rulebooks. You need minis, dice, a table, terrain. So this is always written like to people who has never played a tabletop game before or miniatures game before. Lovely photos. That's one of the cool things here in Frostgrave Second Edition, that the line of models are so vast now. There's so many different plastic kits, metal miniatures, and that was lacking in the first book. There was a lot of the photos in the first book are not even official miniatures because they had not been released yet. Creating a wizard, choosing a wizard type. There's eight types of magicians in Frostgrave. Chronomancers, known as time riders, hourglasses, and wheels as symbols. They manipulate time. Elementalists, so fire, water, wind, earth magicians. Enchanters, who enchants spells, items, and constructs animatronics. Illusionists. Necromancer, dead ones. Sigilists, who is reading and writing, scrolls. Soothsayer, so they look into the future, something. They can reach into the past to learn the secrets of history or gaze into the future to catch a glimpse of things to come. Summoner summons demons. Thaumaturge, I don't know how to say it. Thaumaturge. So thaumaturges draw their magic powers from positive energy. Most, though not all, believe that this energy comes from some form of deity, a god. And then there is a witch. So in the first edition, I played a witch for a lot of games, summoning animals, controlling animals, poison. And then for my solo campaign, going through Perilous Dark, I've made a dwarf enchanter because I wanted a dwarf warband. So I went with that. Elementalist, it's too obvious. I think it's boring. It's not boring, but too obvious. Illusionist, nah, never liked those. Necromancer, too classic as well. Soothsayer, nah. So I was wondering if I should play a sigilist or a thaumaturge, and I've chosen this one, the positive energy. I'm just gonna read this part because that gave me an idea for a warband. These wizards are healers and protectors who often spend as much time on good works as they do on the study of magic. Thaumaturges rarely carry any weapon other than a staff, and some find even that a bit aggressive. This is not to say that thaumaturges are pacifists, however, just that most prefer to avoid obvious displays of force. In appearance, they usually wear plain, simple robes and tend to favor hoods over hats and wood and leather over gold and silk. My mage is not looking exactly like that. But I think he's going to be a witch hunter and demon hunter, a slayer of evil powers. So this one felt like the right one. Yeah. Symbols, the sun and triangles. So I have to paint that on my guys. Uh, Aligned with illusionists, sigilists, and soothsayers. So gonna have a couple of spells from those guys, and then some spells from Chronomancer, Elementalist, Enchanter, Summoner, and Witch, which is lovely. Then we have choosing spells, how many of the different kinds of spells you choose, the stat line. So this is rules, items, assembling a warband, the apprentice stats. So you really want to bring an apprentice with you always, because then you can cast 2 spells every turn. And if your wizard dies, you have the apprentice. This part. Okay, so that was one of the things that I was compared to the first edition rulebook. Let's see if we can find some of these. Find a slot here. Right. So throughout the rulebook, there's these blue snippets here, containing small pieces of fluff. The wizard takes one look at this violet pool and sees all the bodies and bits of bodies floating in it. Then she hands me a jar and says, "Get a sample." So these are all quotes from soldiers who's been into the city, small snippets of fluff. Um, in the old books, it was a blue box, so that's had a bit of extra graphic work done. I like that. This construct must have a dozen or more spikes sticking out of its chest. It's just grabbed up poor Forik and gave him a big hug. So this is an upgrade. I like this. The I don't know what this kind of art. Good morning, Andres from Chile, right? So this artwork here, the arts in the edges of the pages, every good rulebook has it. The Warhammer books are known for it. Changed. It's more solid here. And this one, that's a nice upgrade. But yeah, I don't know what it is about this part. This doesn't look as good as in the first books, and I can't really describe why. In the first edition books, this part, these brown areas, they are optional rules and stuff like that. They look more like pieces of parchment in the book. This looks more like a piece of graphic. It's hard to describe. Items, apprentice, skills, lots of cool artwork. This guy looks like something that could come from the Ghost Archipelago. He has a pirate vibe going on, a thief trying to get into a chest. I read that the author, Joseph McCullough, reached out to Rumo, the artist who she made all the artwork in the book, and just kind of gave her some guidelines. She's never played Frostgrave. She doesn't really know the system. Gave her just a quick lineup of the fluff and just let her run with it. So lots of cool art there. Same base soldiers as in the first edition game. Thugs, thieves, warhounds, infantrymen have two-handed weapons, men-at-arms, hand weapon and shields, and apothecaries who gets a free potion. A new thing is standard soldiers and specialist soldiers. So you can have 4 of these guys and 4 of these guys, and they cost different amounts of gold. So the specialist soldiers are more expensive. Or you can have as many of these standard soldiers as you want, and only 4 specialists. So you can no longer make a archer spam list because all the guys with shooting stats are specialists. Some of the soldiers has become more expensive. There's archers, crossbowmen, Treasure hunters, they are fast and good fighters. Trackers, um, they're faster than an archer, also armed with a bow. Knights, Templars, they have more armor. Rangers, uh, yeah, classic Dungeons and Dragons style Rangers. Barbarians, they have a very good fight stat, a lot of health, and Maskmen, elite crossbowmen. These are pretty expensive. I mean, we played in the first edition, we played through a campaign for 12 scenarios, and we never got to fill the warband with only expensive guys because they kept dying. Uh, General arms and armor, pretty small list. It's kept simple. Daggers, hand weapons, two-handed weapons, staff, bow, crossbow, quiver. So not a lot of different items to choose from. Keeps it simple. Standard hand weapon, two-handed weapons give more damage. You can't have a shield. Staff, you give less damage, but you receive less damage. So that's nice on a wizard because you just want to keep those alive. It's a cool picture. Let's see if we can get a better shot at it. Some kind of wraith and a couple of. I think these are some of the metal miniatures. And this would be a maskman, heavily armored crossbowman. Two-headed troll, a demon hunter. This is also some of the models that's been released later. An assassin. These are soldier types that's in some of the expansion books. Chapter 2, playing the game. How to set up the table. You can go 3x3, 4x4, needs lots of terrain. Try to limit line of sight because archers and spellcasters get too powerful if they can see everything. The turn is built in phases. So first, you roll for initiative. One guy gets to activate his wizard and soldiers close to the wizard. So that's a pretty important tactic. Then the opponent will go with his wizard and soldiers close to it. Then reverse, apprentice who can activate soldiers opposite, and then the remaining soldiers. So there's a great tactic. That's one of the cool things about Frostgrave, that you can really gang up on your opponent if you have your wizard and 3 extra soldiers that activate at once. But that will also force your wizard to get close to the enemy and just instead of staying back. This is a cool guy. So this must be kind of like my type of dude. One of these healing mages. Flying candles. Pentagram on the floor. Runes. Some kind of spell. It oozes magic. It's so cool. So any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll look up, we'll flip back and forth, go into the index, and look over things if there's any specific questions here for this. A relative little amount of snow here in the photos here, but the city is definitely ruined. Movement, obstruction. So this standard rules. Looks nice. I like the drawings. Yeah, the drawings are really cool. This one is so cool. This, I think, if I remember correctly, this piece right here actually inspired the author to write a new spell, a spell that wasn't in the first edition. But this sigillist animating some books to use them as a staircase, that got turned into a spell in the book where these sigillists can make a bridge of scrolls and books. So that's pretty cool. So I've started playing this Frostgrave second edition solo, Perilous Dark, and I got my butt kicked in the first scenarios against some vapor snakes. And after that, I've been reading a lot online that most people find that particular scenario here from the Perilous Dark expansion, which is solo and co-op. And most people find this first scenario extremely hard and die and lose. It is possible to beat it. I read about a guy, he had to try 4 times before he finally won it, and he only had 2 guys left. So yeah, that was a tough one. And the author suggests, or this expansion is actually written so that you don't start with a new warband, but but a fairly experienced warband. So if you start with a new warband, you should probably take out one or two monsters um, in each scenario. So I didn't really stand a chance, but that's all right. It was a fun game, and I'm nearly finished building the stuff needed for the next one. Movement, swimming. Those rules weren't in the first edition because all water is pretty much frozen. Some cool shots of the barbarians. Barbarians weren't a part of the first rulebook here. Lovely kits. I think these are mostly metal models from that. Some kind of demon. That's the next expansion I want to play. Player versus player. It's an expansion called Forgotten Pacts. That's all about barbarians and demons. Rules for combat. This part is like in every system that has melee rules. There is this: how do you support one another in combat and diagrams. This is fairly easy to understand once you cracked it in Blood Bowl. That was my baptism by fire in those kind of rules. How to support and work in that. Optional rules, critical hits. That was the same as the first. It's still optional. The game gets really brutal. This is a cool picture. Looks like that girl from what's called Brave, Disney movie, and she actually looks very much like a character in Ghost Archipelago. That's a spin-off game set in a jungle with pirate-like adventurers. Not focusing on wizards, but cool swashbucklers, and she looks like a character from the artwork there. So maybe she made her way into the deep north. Shooting, more rules. This guy's pretty cool. I mean, how do you even do that? That's Kev Delamore, who paints all the models for North Star military figures. I mean, this guy is like, he's 3 centimeters high, and still he manages to paint perfect stars on him. And there's even like 3 different colors in this star. My camera can't really pick it up. It's just insane. Look at the bottle there. Come on. Purple, blue, empty in the top. Gravity pulling down this fluid. White dots like light shimmering in the flask. That's on such a tiny model. It never ceases to me. It's just impressive. This guy, he must be an illusionist. Looks a bit like a clown, all those colors, but turning himself invisible. Empowering spells, that's a cool part of this game. You roll dice when you want to succeed in a spell, and all the wizards can choose to modify their rolls on a one-to-one basis, sacrificing their own health points. That's a great idea. So often, if you want to get a heal spell off and you're just going to sacrifice some of your life to get that spell off, you can also use it for those very important. I need to hit this guy with my fireball to get it off. Yeah, he's a cool gang. Wizard from the Wizard 2 kit. I think that's a female wizard there. Familiar on the shoulder. This guy, he's not a Frostgrave model. He's from Oathmark, which same manufacturer of miniatures. That's a cool spot. So he's actually from a different game. More cool artwork. Let's look at this. It just oozes story. All these rules for how the AI monsters move, and this is upgraded from the first edition, and these new upgraded rules actually came in one of the expansion packs. So a lot of the rules in this version here has already been implemented in some expansion or another, and then just written in here, collected here. The campaign, this is where it really shines. Yeah, it's a campaign game. You want your wizard to grow, get experience. Lots of female characters, something that the miniature hobby has been lacking, especially in these multi-part plastic kits. I think these are all, yeah, the two wizards in the center, they're a plastic kit. The others are metal miniatures. Great models. Cool. Yeah. He's had a better day. Wounded guy. She's trying to heal his soldier. So she's not. Some of these, there's a couple of novels, written novels and short stories as well, if you want more fluff. And a lot of the wizards in those are real assholes with their soldiers. They're just meat for the grinder. She does seem to have some kind of compassion. All manner of permanent injuries. Necromancer and apprentice. A couple of soldiers. So one of the cool things about this kit, they're all themed about this winter's theme. So most of the models will have gloves. They're not going to have bare arms. I mean, they're covered in multiple layers of clothing, and that seems to go on through all the kits really. Enchanter. So in Frostgrave, there's no description of other races. It's all humans and monsters, of course, gnolls. So there are humanoids, but none of the classic fantasy races. There's no elves described. There's no dwarves described. Um, but you can just run them if you want to, yeah. But they're not described in the kit. So this is a photo from the first edition rulebook, because those models right there, they are they're some kind of historical miniatures from another company. And this is some of the metal models that were ready at the time. Lots of different artwork, lots of different photos. A lot of the photos in the first edition build had kind of a repurposed feel. You could see that they were from the same photo shoot because they didn't have as many miniatures or terrain. But lots of different stuff going on in this book. Items, yeah. Counting the treasure. Every treasure you get with you from the battlefield, you roll here, and this is what we love in these kinds of games, right? Uh, Lots of different potions. So healing, strength, toughness, teleportation, poison, iron mind, construct oil, and then if you roll a 19 or 20, you get to roll on this greater potion table, um, where there's like the elixir of life and bottle of null. A bottle that will sap away another magician's powers. You can purchase these last ones, potion of invulnerability and the elixir of life that will save you. The second edition book is much larger than the first one. It's just like, so this is 222 pages, and I think the first one was like 150 or something. So it's a lot bigger, a lot thicker, a lot more material, and we'll get to a part of that because the rules are pretty much the same. There might be a bit more artwork, but especially the scenarios take up a lot more space. No more demons. Are the demons in a bottle? That was a pretty good spell. Potion of Dreams and Nightmare, Shatterstar, Bottle of Darkness. I'm not sure if that, but because that was a very nasty potion. Throw a bottle, it broke, and out came a demon. That was a very nasty one. I don't know if it's in here. I'm not sure. I don't think so because that was very, very, very powerful. Uh, that was the best one. If you had brew potion, you should always go to make one of those. Throw demons left and right. More cool guys. The barbarian, of course, has bare arms. Oh, I'm macho. I'm tough. This is a cool photo. Like a chronomancer, I think, looking into the past, having some kind of vision of how. I imagine that the story here is uh, seeing back in time some specific part of town, looking to find clues as to where to go in the ruins at present to find some old treasure. Such a cool photo. So this is the Enchanter model from the first edition. Yeah, he's not a dwarf because he has another height, but definitely a dwarf aesthetic going on. That's okay. Dwarves are cool. Random spells. So if you find a spell tome, you roll a die to see what kind of a spell that your wizard might get. Learn a new spell or sell the book if they have the spell already. It's part of the rules that you can never sell a spell book if you don't know the spell, because wizards will always try to have maximum knowledge of everything. That's just how wizards work. And that's a nice rule. Even if it's a completely bad spell that you know you're never going to use it ever in the game, you can't sell the book, because a wizard would never sell a spell book if they don't know the spell beforehand. I've made this list myself. It's on the blog, because there is, in all these expansions, there are new spells in every single one of them. So I've listed all the spells written for the entire game in a single sheet, and then I just randomize a number between 1 and, I don't know, 150, and how many spells there are, and then we get that one. Magic items, different kinds. Magic weapons. Yeah, lots of stuff to find for your wizard here. Spending treasure, getting new soldiers. This guy is pretty cool. I think he's a bad guy. Demon hunter, perhaps. Optional rule, black market. So there are rules that you can actually buy all these items. They're pretty expensive, and I don't know how anybody would ever get have to have enough, like a hand weapon that gives +1 damage, 300 gold coins, and that's your entire starting budget. Some of them are really expensive, uh, and they're not even worth half that money if you sell it, so that's nice. Um, I've never bought a magic items. We've always gone in there to find them. I've never had enough money to buy items like this. Never. There's a lot of different stuff to use money on, and especially now here in second edition, that the soldiers are more expensive. The good soldiers are 125 gold coins now instead of just 100. So they're pretty expensive. You have to play for a long time without dying to be able to get this. These black market rules. Yeah, this is rules for that you can buy items, but you have to roll a couple of dice, and then depending on luck, that's the only items available for you. You can't pick and choose. So you can choose between 3 items that you roll up, and if you don't want that, then you can try again after the next game. Same rules in This Is Not a Test. You roll to see if there are any kinds of special items available for you or not. I think it's the same in Necromunda. I like that mechanic. That's a good mechanic. Establishing a base. So the base is not part of the game. You can't play like in Last Days, Zombie Apocalypse. Your base can get attacked, and it's part of some of the scenarios. This is not the case in Frostgrave. You just pick one of the a location somewhere in the city, and it'll give you a bonus before or after each game. This has had some very, very nice rules changes as well, because back in the day, the first edition, the inn was actually the only one that made sense, because if you chose the inn as your base, you could have one more soldier, and if you have 11 soldiers instead of 10, makes a huge difference. So that's been nerfed. Now it just gives you room for a wounded soldier. So if somebody is missing a game, you can have a reserve soldier living at the inn. So they're a lot more balanced. Upgrades here for your base. You can buy different upgrades like a kennel. It costs 400 gold, and that will allow you to bring a war dog or a wolf into a warband. So a pretty expensive upgrade for a bad soldier type. 250 goals to get +1 on your potion rolls. Yeah, I like it. There's a lot of stuff to spend your money on. Spells. Okay, so this is a pretty big chapter. The spells are alphabetically ordered, and that's pretty hard. to figure out. So yeah, you have the spells in the alphabetical order, and that's the only part where an index might have been good to know where to look up the spells. And I might actually go and add page numbers to my file on the blog there. So the book is about spellcasters. This is a cool picture. I'm not sure if it's the attention, but those two look like family. I mean, there's something about their faces and eyes that, yeah, this dude is an apprentice of his like great grandmother or something, because she's old. Um, so yeah, lots of different spells, and they've had all manner of tweaks. That was the main reason, or the big selling point of the second edition was, in the first edition, lots of spells were never used because they were plain bad, and some of the spells were must-haves because they were too good. And a lot of work and thousands of games have went into to tweaking all the spells. A couple have been deleted, and the new ones made for to make for a more balanced games, to not put as much effort into just killing each other. A lot of the spells are now better for utility purposes. Well, these are pretty cool. Those are from an expansion, the Maze of Melkor, where you enter an old magic university, and all the old house masters or the faculty have become some kind of magical ghosts. That's a cool expansion. I want to play that as well. This is just a lot of people have picked this one out as their favorite artwork from the book. So obviously a necromancer animated a zombie to carry the luggage around the city. That's perfect. Any mage would do that. Ring the chest. Yeah, still looking at the spells, lots of them, and yeah, 30 pages of spell descriptions. That's a lot. And in alphabetical order, you'll have to do a bit of flipping back and forth. And for this, an index could be good to look them up, because if you look at the table of contents and you get to their spells, it doesn't tell you where to find the different ones. Optional rule, Transcendence. So how do you end a campaign about wizards who want to gain unlimited power? That's a rule if you know all the spells from your school of magic, and that's 10 spells for each spell school. And it's random spells that you find, or you can buy a spell for 500 or 1,000 gold crowns or something like that. When you've learned all your spells, you have the possibility to make a very difficult spell, and your wizard will transcend and get to another plane of existence because they are so powerful. Spellcaster, an apprentice, some kind of waterbenders, so they are elementalists. Somehow, I always think when I read elemental ball or elemental bolt, I always think of fire and lightning. It could be cool to make a water themed or earth themed elementalist. Just throw a rock in somebody's face, or a meteor. Chapter 5, Scenarios. So why is this book so much bigger than the old one? Um, all the scenarios from the first book, there were 10 scenarios, are printed in the second edition as well. And then there are 10 new scenarios as well. So 20 scenarios in the base game. That's a lot of games to play through. So even considering if you don't have any of the expansion books at all, 20 different games in one book, I think that's a lot. And I've sold my first edition rulebook. I wouldn't be playing Frostgrave second. I wouldn't be playing Frostgrave again until second edition hit, because there are so many other games we wanted to play. So I sold the book when this was announced, and that was the only thing I was like, oh well, I won't have those 10 scenarios anymore. So it's really nice that they are printed in here. Uh, cool Nosferatu feel to that vampire there. No fancy stuff. There's no doubt that guy's a monster. Um, the description of the scenarios have been beefed up, and that's very nice. So in the first edition book, a lot of the rules and the fluff were kind of written in one big wall of text, and now all the scenarios, and this is brilliant. It's a perfect edition. Like the Silent Tower, and at the very top it says the requirements for that scenario. So tower, two small buildings, walkways that can stretch from one to the other. Boom. And then you know what you have to build. Because I spent so much time reading through all the scenarios in the first edition, and writing a list next to it, like, okay, for this scenario I need to make this monster, this monster, this monster, and you had to kind of find it in the wall of text. Oh, you need this, and then this happens, you might need to get this. So it's just easy here. The mausoleum, you need a mausoleum and a bunch of skeletons. Boom. Saves a lot of time. uh, so was that time consuming in the first edition? Yeah, it kind of was, if you hobby like I do, because I always get a new book and then I plan out and I go through my garage and I try to find. So here are 50 models so that I can make the entire bestiary ready at once. And you could just, make do instead. But I always hobby like that completionist guy, right? The library takes place inside a big library, and I'm looking forward to playing that because I have a dungeon now. So I can make something that looks like a uh, giant library. He's having a bad day. I mean, he's hurt by whatever is binding him in place. Uh, yeah, Steel Drag Andres did a Google sheet for monsters and terrain. I think there's a lot of those out there. I did one as well at some point. Might have lost that. The haunted houses, genie in a bottle. Yeah, genie in a bottle. I made that genie. Let's see if we can find it. So I made the genie, and I made the. I don't know. I think perhaps the table is broken. 2 seconds. Because I let my kid play with all my models. Yeah, so that's one of the examples, right? For first edition, I did make a genie from an old Hero Quest model. Green stuff, the bottom here. So he looks. I love this model. I've painted it up so many times and converted it a bunch of times, and made him a small table with a small oil lamp. I made these two pieces for this exact scenario, and we've never rolled it up because we only played like 3 scenarios from the old core book, and then we went straight into a 10 scenario campaign book. So never used the model, but he's cool and he was fun to make. The complex temple. That's with. So here, additional scenarios. The scenarios in this book are just the beginning. There are now dozens of scenarios available in various supplement Frostgrave books. There are scenarios that take the wizards into underground dungeons, multi-level pyramids, demon-haunted temples, and even an ancient college of magic. And then it says here that the next 10 scenarios are more specific, has some crazy ideas, and are a bit harder. So you can start with the others, and if you don't have some expansion, then you can come to these scenarios. Let's remember to rub him in the right way. Yeah, you have to do that with the genie, otherwise he gets angry. Back in the days of ancient Felstad, many wizards kept their most valuable treasures sealed inside glass orbs. Unless a thief knew the password to unlock the orb, they would have to risk a deadly shock. So that sounds kind of like Neverwinter Nights. There were a couple of maps where you were inside a snow globe, and there was a world inside a snow globe. Cool. Yes. See, short sword, a dagger in the belt, and a dagger in the mouth. Can't have enough daggers, in case you need to stab someone. A lot of times. The ice storm. The storm has been brewing for a while, but you pushed on. Now you have to step into a ruined plaza. The wind begins to howl. Suddenly, all around, icicles snap off the ruins and go spinning through the air, hurled by the wind. That sounds deadly. Might be a good scenario. The summoning bell. Right hand and the left hand. Wax on, wax off kind of moment going on right there. Special rules. The treasure phantasmal. Wraiths. You felt a growing chill the further you pressed into the section of the ruins. Although the sun is bright and the sky cloudless, the world seems dim and grey, and there are far too many shadows. Even the snow and ice does not shine the way it should. Yeah, that's creepy. The mine card. I can probably make my dungeon into a mine, and I have some mine card bits and pieces from Terrain Crate, so that's cool. Big construct right there. The lockbox. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a closer look at some of these scenarios at some point. The steam vents. Oh, he's cool. Look at the ghosts there. That's what a necromancer looks like. Or Raistlin, after he switched robes. The swirling mists, the minefields. Yeah, so this is why the book is so extra thick, because there are so many extra scenarios in it. Let's see here. Balancing scenarios. This rule came in, I think it was Ghost Archipelago, for if there is too many levels between the warbands fighting. So this is just a simple way you roll up a random creature, and depending on the level difference between your guys and the opponent, you roll on a higher table, so you can get some really nasty monsters that fight on your side. Bestiary. So this is same as the first one, and there are a ton of different monsters. Whenever you pick up a treasure, you roll a die to see what kind of level of encounter it is, and it can be anything from a single skeleton to 2 snow trolls or a werewolf. And I've built every single option on this table right here, and have it in the cabinet. And that's just a nice hobby achievement. I've done the same for Ghost Archipelago. It's a nice feeling. Going check. I've made every single possible thing you can roll on the table. And then there's the section describing the different monsters and animals, constructs, white gorilla, white dog, demons. And there's a lot more demons in the Forgotten Pacts expansion. I'm looking forward to that, where you roll individual skills for the various demon kinds. That's pretty cool. Nasty monster right there. Frost giants, giant worms, snow trolls, werewolves. A couple of mages here battling it out. It'll be interesting to see in the new expansions coming out, because the old artists that made the artwork for all the old books, they used a lot of the same characters. So in a lot of the artwork, you will see soldiers and wizards that you've seen before in other situations. That was really nice, seeing the same models, the same characters being used different times. Like here, this the witch and the enchanter, who's a bit shorter there, have been featured in a lot of artwork and as models. So it'll be interesting to see if some of the characters here in the second edition book will appear again in other situations in the expansion. That would be nice. Undead creatures, lots of those. And then this is also new. In the old book, again, this seemed like a theme. In the text description of the monsters, you would also have to read. So besides describing a zombie, you would have to find whatever special rules the creature had inside this text. Now it has keywords. They had keywords in the old edition, but the description of the keywords would be in here in the text. Now all creature traits are collected here in alphabetical order in the end. That's a nice smart upgrade. Appendix. being that this is a second edition, it was a big thing for North Star and Osprey that none of the old expansion packs should be obsolete. The only thing is the spell cards. You could buy card stock spell cards. Those don't work because there are too many amendments to the different spells. But all the books still work, and printed here in the book is whatever small changes, notable changes to Thor of the Lich Lord. No major changes are necessary. Into the breeding pits. Ignore the rules clarification listed under Tunnel Fighter and is no longer relevant. So very small changes to all the expansion packs already released, and that's very nice. That you don't make all that you have already done obsolete. All the soldiers listed in the expansion packs and what kind of soldier it is now, if it's a standard soldier or one of those specialists. Ah, the assassin is standard. Here's one of my favorites. Crowmaster, Javelineer, I might bring one of those. And then here at the very end, there are spell cards that you can, choose to print, and here in the end, they are listed all the spells. So 8 spells per school, not 10. All the spells are listed with whatever school of magic they are from. I think this is much smarter than, and you can just you can copy them and cut them out. And I think this is a much better way to show them off than the spell list early in the book. So it seems, kind of redundant to have the spells described twice. And this is just quicker and smarter. So when I design a new wizard, I just go straight for this list. I check, okay, so I'm making a Thaumaturge. Which 3 spells am I choosing from this list? Then I go to, okay, I have to choose one summoner spell. I find a spell from there. I have to choose one, find a spell from there. It's easier to get an overview of what you have here. Wizard sheet at the end for your wizard, his apprentice, whatever school of magic he has, your base, if you have something in your treasury and how many money you have, where you can list all the spells you have, and a sheet for your soldiers. And there is, in the Facebook group and on Osprey's website, there is a collected character sheet that's better than this one, where it's all there. Quick reaction sheet. Might want to copy these and laminate them. Summoning up the rules very quickly, so that's nice. And I've made, for my wizard, I found a magic card generator online and made whatever spells I have into a small magic card. And I'm not going to make all of them. I'm just going to, whenever I get a new spell, I'm going to find that spell, make a card for it, and print it. So I have them in front of me while gaming, and I can tap them if they're used, and I can just put them aside if they're out of game spells. So that'll make it much easier for me. So yeah, Frostgrave 2nd edition, nice hardback. I've come to expect a lot from Osprey's hardback books. The quality is nice, thick paper, lots of artwork. There's not been there's spared no expenses in this book. It's a nice rule book, and this, I hope this will stay relevant for a lot of years to come. And there is a lot of new expansions planned for 2nd edition as well. And this looks kind of cool in the bookshelf. I like this. I like rule books. I like collections, even though that I'll never use and get to play through most of them, because even if the only game I played was Frostgrave, there would be game material for a lot of years just here. And I like so many different games. So, any questions? Please ask. If we have to flip through different books, we'll do that. If you want to look something up in a specific expansion, ask away, and we'll do that. Otherwise, I'm just going to show some of the models that I found for my 2nd edition warband that I'm going to start building now. So the mage that I've chosen here and his apprentice. So here is this is an old Warhammer uh, wizard. He has a huge spellbook here on the side, a staff, a sword, a couple of bags, uh, runes etched in the sides of his robes here. And I just like the look of this guy, and he looks super arrogant. Uh, just look at the color. I mean, yeah, he's oozing arrogance and being better than everybody else. So, and that's how wizards are. But I think he would make a cool, uh, yeah, just to do something different. So I'm going for that Thaumaturge, those healing spells and light spells. But the twist is he's a witch hunter, a demon hunter, uh, battling all kinds of evil. This is his apprentice. It's actually, I think it's a model from an old Games Workshop artillery piece from the Empire. I think this book is meant to be whatever calculations, and this thing is for lighting a cannon. But I'm just using it as a torch or a small wand, and he has the book, and he looks. They have the same kind of hat or cap, so I'm gonna paint them in the same colors. Paint some runes here along the edges of this guy's robes, and that'll be the wizard and the apprentice. And I think I'm going to go white and light blue for their colors. And then I have so thieves. Thieves have become free in the new edition, so you don't have to pay gold for them. You can always bring thieves and thugs into a warband, and I want to bring these two guys in as thieves for my warband. The first guy here, these are both Dunkeldorf models from King Games. This is Franz the Mutant, so obviously a thief. Uh, his face is pretty messed up. He has a tentacle, so he's mutated. Uh, Armed only with a dagger, so that fits the rules. Huge backpack. Uh, there's a candlelight holder there, candlelight stick there. So he's with the warband because he's repentant. He doesn't like being a mutant. He doesn't like being a freak in this world, and he's feeling very sorry for it. So for some reason, the wizard has brought him into the fold and bring him in along in the warband instead of just killing him. Um, I need to figure out a better story why that is. So perhaps he feels sorry for this guy. He's not a threat, and this guy is willing to do everything in order to be healed by the mage. So he's just tagging along. And then this guy is also cool. It's pretty hard with the light to capture these, but he has a small candlelight in one hand, and then he's carrying here on the back. It's pretty hard, but he's carrying a ring with the keys. So yeah, obviously a better trained and sophisticated thief. This guy, I'm gonna add a small dagger bit here to him, so he's probably armed. Also wearing a hat. So that's a second thief for the warband. And then since they are witch hunters, I am going to bring this guy, and he's cool. This is a magic model from their Vanguard, Basilian Vanguard list. Those that it's an army of paladins types. They have a very big, um, what's it called? Heroes of Might magic feel to them. There was this team of paladins, and they had angels and stuff like this. And he's I think the model is called a dictator. He has a helmet that reminds me of the Pope. Um, Ornate armor with all kinds of runes and a huge two-handed hammer. So yeah, he's going to smash up some witches. Angel wings bit to his back, and this iron halo. And he's a big dude. I mean, he's massive, towering over the wizard. So He's pretty expensive, that's 125 of my starting gold pieces going for the Templar, but I just need to bring a Templar when I'm doing this Witch Hunter theme. And then I found another couple of uh, Cow Vanguard bits. This here is a, see if I find the right leg. Oh, wonder where that is. Well, it's here somewhere. So this here is I have one, it's a female miniature, an archer, and she has a lots of clothing, a good couple of layers, a cloak. That's good for walking into the frozen city. Uh, yeah, a hooded head. So a nice ranger feel to her. So she'll be an archer. And then there is this model right here. That's going to be an infantryman or woman. That's one of the cheaper soldiers carrying a huge two-handed flail and a nice running pose. Uh, Hair flowing in the wind behind her. So that's going to be infantryman woman number one. Going to bash some heads, and I think the hammer and flail theme is going to go throughout this entire warband for that classic cleric look. And then the rest of the warband will be filled out with North Star Ostmark and Frostgrave soldiers. Some of the different plastic kits that I have. I need to make two thugs and another infantryman to round out the warband. I think I might go one more female character, a female thug, and then use two of the Oathmark humans to make a thug and an infantryman, also carrying clubs or axes. I might ditch swords entirely and need to find some kind of way to make them look like witch hunters. So I'm going to find some cool bits for that. So that concludes this preview of Frostgrave second edition. Lots of people watching. Thanks for that. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to do more of this kind of thing in the future. Uh, I'll be closing off soon, so might jump on the Discord if you want to talk Frostgrave or other kinds of games. Jump in there. I'm also active in all those different Facebook groups, but the cool thing about Discord is that your stuff won't get drowned away. You can get your own channel, and discussions won't get bogged down by a thick 6,000 people Facebook group. I'm really looking forward to playing Frostgrave second edition. I'll have my first games here in October, so I have 1.5 months to paint up my warband, and I'll make sure to show it off on the the blog. Um, I'm hoping to get solo gaming some more, and I'll be continuing playing my Perilous Dark uh, Frostgrave campaign as soon as my dungeon board is done. You can find a link. I'll put a link as well for that on the blog. Um, and then I'm hoping to play some, at least a solo game per week, and I'm aiming to get make Wednesday my solo game night. Um, but I'm not sure I'm going to make it this Wednesday, but hopefully, and I'll make sure to post around when I go solo, and I want to include you guys watching and the people in the chat next time I'm playing solo, so that we play together and you can get your input on where we have to move the guys and perhaps control some of the enemy monsters. Lots of plans. It's going to be great fun. So yeah, again, thanks for watching. I'm just gonna drop a Discord link here in the chat. Lots of people in there, not just me. Good guys, good people, good hobby work. There we go. Have a good Sunday. Enjoy your coffee. It's time for me to make some dinner. Bye.